first, before we start, we typically kind of talk about how we want to use all these marketing tactics and knowledge, expertise, to sell tickets or get people to engage with our events, or what we're doing online. But I encourage you to also think about these tactics and using them to say what you'd like to say. Whether that be, the goal is to actually sell a ticket, or raise brand awareness, or to align in whatever way you feel is appropriate for your organization. So think pretty broadly about all of the tactics that we discuss in this class, what we've done in previous classes and going forward. And then the other housekeeping thing that I want to mention is that if you have questions during Alyssa's presentation, put them in the chat and I will address them when Alyssa's done with her presenting. Or Alyssa, if you would like to give yourself time, and people, since we do have a small group, I typically have everyone just list in the chat, because it is about 40 to 50 people and we don't want to unmute everybody and have everybody asking questions. But we do have the luxury of a smaller group, so we can have a bit more of a detailed discussion if you would like to that as well. So let's just go with putting questions in the chat, unless Alyssa says otherwise at some point in the presentation. So that being said, I am ready to give it over to you. So thank you so much for being here. And tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Yes, for sure. Can everyone see my screen okay? Awesome. Well, hi, I'm Alyssa. It's great because this picture was taken like 5 years ago, and I used to have really, really long hair, and I literally cut my hair right before the pandemic, so my biopic actually looks accurate again. So blessings. But I'm a Kansas City native. I work at VML Y&R. Big lover of the arts, and you can already kind of hear that in the sense of love music, theater, love the museum, and I've been really honored to be able to work with Mariah and Dana on initiatives like this, to help artists and those who make beautiful things in our city get their message found. So it's really great to be with you guys today, and just find ways to help you amplify your different wonderful platforms. Something else to keep in mind, because I know from working with small to medium-sized businesses that a lot of the time when you see a big agency logo, you kind of are like, oh, none of this is going to apply to me. But surprise, I used to work for a really small agency, and all of my first clients were really small local businesses like Manny's and Minsky's and Script Pro, so just some other local businesses in the area. So what I'm passionate about is bringing that big agency perspective and those high-level strategy ideas and translating them to something that can be applicable even if you don't have $1 million budget or a big fancy advertising rep. And then the last piece about me is that I've worked across search, social, and content strategy. So you might hear me throw some things in about the way that people search for things, or the way that this could connect to your larger website and your efforts. I'm very passionate about how all those things work together. And so when we're going through and we're thinking about this, think about your whole ecosystem and how you can use your platform and amplify what you're doing on Facebook, but also connect it to your email, your website, your organic search, and those kind of efforts. And then another note that you can see down here is that just in this current time, I think something to keep in mind about is that, especially if you're an individual for your business or an artist individually, you can also use paid to amplify your platform and to think about ways that you can help right now. I personally put out a small business, like a Facebook post today about how to support small businesses in the area and help them thrive. And I'm going to put some personal dollars behind it because I just would like to get more reach. But then also be conscious of the fact that, in these current times, especially as we all saw like on Blackout Tuesday, if you have ads running during a time when the conversation is completely shifted, it's always good to check in whenever something like that happens and be like, what do I have running on paid advertisements? Should I be shifting anything around right now? So that's a little bit about me. What we're going to go over today, we're going to cover a couple different areas around the basics of setting up Facebook advertising. There is a whole rabbit hole of, kind of 201 topics that we won't cover today. Mariah and I were actually brainstorming about maybe how we could have a follow-up session. But today is designed to set you up in a place for success to set up your Facebook Business Manager, which is like the next level of boosting that allows you to truly tap into Facebook's power and its machine learning capabilities, and set you up in a place where you can start creating ads. There is so much more to unlock beyond that. So if you are excited by this, let us know, because that would be great feedback for us to use for a future session. So getting into what you might want to have ready, if you can follow along a couple different ways. You're welcome to just watch my screen, and of course we're recording this, and you're going to have the PDF with all of these links as resources. But if you'd also like to pull up your own page or your own business manager or ads manager and set up as we go through, that's totally okay too. And we'll, happy to answer questions if you put them in the thread as you're going through, of any roadblocks you face, and can address them, when we take some pauses throughout the conversation. If there aren't any other questions, we will get into the presentation. I'm not putting this on presentation mode because I'm going to switch between this and some taps. So just an FYI, that's why you can see all my keynote here. So let's first talk about boosting versus ads manager. Boosting is that blue, this blue, icon box that you see on posts that allow you to put a little incremental budget behind it to target your audiences and make your posts more visible. Facebook has really improved this tool. It used to be incredibly basic, used to not have to be able to add any targeting to it, and they've really improved it. So now you can add more targeting, you can target people who are linked to people who like your page, you can adjust your location, your age. However, it's important to keep in mind that boosting is great for certain things. I really like to advise clients to use it for when they have an organic message that they really want to make sure their organic audience sees, or if they see something is doing well and they want to give it a little extra half-life, like a little extra length to the engagement. That's a great way to use Boost, and I'm not knocking it for that. But I will say, if you really want to be able to use Facebook to its true potential, that's where Ads Manager comes in, and that's what we're going to be digging into today. So Ads Manager is the central hub where you can manage all of your advertising across Facebook, Instagram, and Facebook's audience network. This is really awesome because, of course, Facebook owns Instagram, so you can create formats for the Instagram feed, for Instagram stories, but also with this audience network, it enables you to target people when they leave Facebook's site to other sites and show your content. So it's a great way to extend your message, and even beyond these networks that you are already using already. There's some other really cool things you can do. You can target your patrons via email. You can retarget site visitors, even off of a specific page that they visit. So if somebody was looking at buying tickets for an event, you could consider retargeting them. We've done that. I work with Boulevardia as well, and we've done that quite a bit in helping to boost their ticket sales and reach new audiences. You can also, this is really cool, you can also retarget people who engage with your social media. So if there's somebody who liked your Instagram post, you can actually create an audience where you can show messaging to them again because you've already seen that they enjoy your content. You also, I mentioned Facebook's advertising network. You get access to that to spread your message even further. And you get the ability to create multiple ads. I will reference one of my consulting clients throughout this presentation, Proven Winners. They're a plant company. If you're a homeowner and you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, you may have seen their products. But a big effort with them is targeting younger gardeners. So we will use Ads Manager to create an ad targeted to older gardeners, use the same creative but different messaging to target younger gardeners. And we see so much better results from giving that customized messaging that we wouldn't really be able to get via a boost. So that's the difference between boosting and Ads Manager. Now we're going to move into actually setting up the Ads Manager. A disclaimer here is that I have reached the max number of business managers I can set up, so I can unfortunately not share my screen to show it to you. But if you go to business.facebook.com, and this screenshot shows it right here, and you click Create Account, you can start, it steps you through creating that business profile. You put in your business info, you add your business page, you get an email confirming that that this is you and that you want to set this up. Keep in mind that it's the email tied to your Facebook account, so make sure that that email. Amateur move at my last agency, I had my Facebook tied to my email for my agency, and when I left, it was hell. So just make sure that you've got your email on that you can actually access from personal experience. Also throughout the PDF, you're going to see lots of links to different guides. That's because I know when we step through it today, it might seem, it will seem simple and you'll be like, yeah, I can tackle that. That sounds great. I know for me, when I'm learning like this, I'll be like, yes, that seems so simple. And then I go to do it on my own and I get really confused. So to mitigate that for you guys, there's links in here that will basically step you through step by step and even into more deeper detail of what I'm talking about today that you can use if you need extra resources to get set up. Once you have this Ads Manager set up, you can click Add Account, Add Account, and then you can actually create your ads account. The way this all works is that Business Manager is set up as this central hub to control everything related with Facebook in one area for you. And you have the ability to also separate your personal things from that, which is really nice. So you can manage your page, your Ads Manager, your different audiences that you might be targeting. It's a central hub to do it all. And eventually you'll want to, of course, add payment there. Possibly you'll add different people who are related to your organization. So the guide's here to get that going for you. But today we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the actual setting up of the ad. Some things to keep in mind if you haven't set up Business Manager yet, but that you should explore down the line is connecting to your Instagram. Like I mentioned before, if you have any partners, coworkers, people who help you with your efforts, making sure they're added. And then setting up a Facebook pixel on your site is what facilitates the ability to retarget somebody who visits your site. So those are some of the things that Mariah and I are talking about would be great to explore in a future session if you guys are interested, how to set up those sorts of things so that you can facilitate retargeting, uploading email lists, that sort of thing. Today we're going to step through creating a single image ad. So before you ever set up an ad though, I always tell everyone to take a step back, think about what their goal is, what their objective is, and what they want to achieve with this ad. So is it clicks? Is it impressions? Is it engagements? Is it event registrations? Whatever it is that you're trying to drive, think not just about what you're trying to do on Facebook, but what you're trying to do with your business and content goals overall. And think about what would be the best way to get someone to take the desired action that you're wanting them to take. Now that you've thought through that, maybe you will start thinking about what assets you have on hand. So, I know that a lot of you represent things that are visually really beautiful and really engaging in a feed. You're very lucky because I work with like a construction company who has to like make little videos of like guys talking about metal and sheet metal, and like it's just not as entertaining as you know, a theater league or the Quality Hill Playhouse or Lyric Opera or anything like that. So I encourage you to think about what you have on hand, and if you're lacking for resources, you can always look to Facebook's Creator Studio, which again could be a whole other session on how to use tools like slideshow. It's a good, as you can see in my notes, good tool in lieu of video, and how you might use Facebook's Creator Studio to help you create something that would be very visually engaging and would get someone to stop and take action on your ad. Also, if you are thinking about your ad format and your objective, the reason we think about this right now is that because when you get to the end of your ad setup, you don't even add your creative until the very end. And there's some creative formats that won't work if you haven't chosen the right objective. So for instance, if I want to get website clicks, I might use something like this carousel example that I'm showing because there's multiple tiles. I have multiple opportunities to get someone to click. And I can feature multiple links, which is really cool too. If I was wanting more to get someone to engage with an event, I might use a video because that would like really catch their eye. And then I could have, like look at my, event, or if I could use video views, if I, for instance, was having like an annual event and you wanted to encourage donations. So always think about that in the beginning, because sometimes if you don't choose the right objective in the beginning, when you get to actually uploading your creative, Facebook will tell you it doesn't work and you have to go back and start it over. I'm also including a link to a great resource that Facebook provides where like you can toggle this menu down, choose which feed you want to use, because that's also another consideration is what's it going to look like in someone's Instagram feed. And if I've designed something for Facebook, I don't want it promoted on Instagram and not looking right, for people who use that platform. So this is a great tool to look at see what it looks like, see what the ad formats are, and then also it gives you all the specs. So whether you're cropping a photo for this or you're utilizing a designer on your team, you can pass that on to them and they can make the correct thing for your ad that you're desiring to make. All right, so let's set up an ad. So I'm going to stop sharing my presentation screen here and switch to my browser. Okay. All right, first up, and this is the tool I was showing you about. So you can see this drop down and how it can adjust to that and all the specs and which, objective you might choose. It's a great tool. So definitely encourage using it. So if I was to go and start an ad from the beginning, this is my ads manager. It will likely look a little bit busier than ads manager because I've been running ads for a little while. But what you can do is click this create ad. And if it hasn't already prompted you or you haven't already selected it, make sure you select switch to guided creation. Guided creation, which is different than quick creation. Guided creation kind of like helps you choose what is best for you. And I think this is really nice because it breaks it down into simple marketing terms. Like if you want awareness, you can go for brand awareness or reach. Those are very subtle differences between those two objectives, by the way. One's designed to reach people who would have like affinity for your brand, while reach is more about reaching the max number of people who you're targeting. Then there's all these other objectives that are pretty straightforward: traffic, engagement, app installs, video views, lead generation, messages, conversions, catalog sales, and store traffic. I saw a question about events, and if I was doing events,
Alyssa?
I would probably, yeah.
Hold on one second. Um, it
Is
looks
it
like
not
we're
sharing?
like you're there you go.
Okay, there it was. Um, so sorry about that, guys. So you'd want to be in guided creation. Let me show you where I clicked to create the ad. It's a green button. So this is what Ads Manager looks like. Your account overview is going to give you an overview of all the different reporting metrics in your account. You can see results here. You're able to customize your different columns. Again, this could be, I think, like a whole other session on like how to report on Facebook Ads Manager. But don't let that overwhelm you, because though there is a lot of bells and whistles to explore, there is always a straight path to creating an ad that we're going to talk about today. So if you click create, and what I was talking about earlier is Facebook will have these options up at the top of your journey as you create an ad, where they might say, do you want to switch to guided creation? Do you want to switch to quick creation? I recommend guided creation because it helps break down these marketing objectives that I was talking about very well. So this is the brand awareness tactic I was talking about. These are all the other tactics that you could consider. When it talks about store traffic, that totally counts for a museum or playhouse or anything like that as well. So if we're going to click, let's do reach for our ad today. Let's say we're trying to reach the maximum number of people in the Kansas City area that match our target audience. And I'm an avid dog sitter. So I set up a special fake business page called Alyssa Murfey's Dog Sitting for all of this. So my ad today is going to be about my dog sitting services and trying to reach people in the area who would be interested in that service. Something else to keep in mind is that you have two options down here, A/B test or campaign budget optimization. Because we're trying to get that straight path to creating an ad, I would recommend campaign budget optimization. This allows you to, after we create this ad, like I was talking about earlier, if you wanted to create another version of it, but have different messaging to a different audience, campaign budget optimization would allow you to it would allow Facebook to shift that budget depending on what's performing best. Or you can also do an A/B test if you want to strictly divide the budget and see in a very scientific way which one performs. I typically go for campaign optimization just based off of what I'm testing, because I might be testing different creatives or different messaging. And instead of saying I only want $50 here and $50 here, I want Facebook to spend my money the most efficiently and put it towards the best performing ads. That all depends on, what you're wanting to do and what you're wanting to test. Something else to keep in mind that's very important is that they try and get you here. They have daily budget automatically selected. And it's very easy when you're going through quickly to say that you want a daily budget instead of a lifetime budget. And $100 for a week is very different than $100 a day. So just be very mindful of that, because it's very easy to slip up and end up spending way more money than you think. Also notice how they immediately made it $700. So they're trying to get your money, so be careful. So if I click continue, next we're getting into the audience placement, budget, and schedule section. I'm going to come back to audiences because there's a couple more areas I'd like to show you and talk through with you. So I'm just leaving that as is for right now and moving on to placements. When we think about placements, going back to that conversation earlier about formats and objectives and what you want to achieve, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of cringe when I get those Instagram stories ads or Facebook stories ads that are like, the image doesn't fit, the text is cut off. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but that's because somebody just automatically checked Instagram stories as a placement and didn't think about how their creative might look on that channel. So when you're thinking about your objectives and formats in the beginning, use that knowledge to inform what you select here. So I like to always select manual placements. I don't think there's ever been anything I've made where I haven't tailored it to that channel. So you can see they have the different platforms here: Facebook, Audience Network, Instagram, Messenger. My ad is designed for Facebook and specifically for the Facebook feed. So I'm going to unselect these different areas. Unselect and then select that. And it might be a little frozen. Let's give it a refresh. So the nice thing that Facebook does do is that as you click through each of these, they do show a screenshot on the side. So you're able to see kind of what that would look like. And if I can go down a little bit more, the next area that they have is scheduling. And that's just about, what time period you want it to run for. They like to make it so that it runs as long as possible. So just be conscientious of that if you want it to run for a shorter period of time, they generally just make it automatically a month. So you're going to need to adjust that. You might also want to consider that if you're setting up your ad at a certain time, when you want your advertising to start. So for instance, with the client I work with, they hardly ever see any purchases late at night. So you might want to start your ads in the morning so that you don't spend money reaching people late at night when they're not going to engage with it. And then when it loads, we're going to move on to the next step. So the next step is going to be our ads creation. And you might need to start over here, but that's okay. And like I was saying before, I'm doing mine for my fake real dog sitting business. So I have an image of a dog that I've dog sat that I'm going to use for my ad. And I have the link ready for my dog sitting form. That would be the same thing as your guys' website. So we'll just continue. Apologies, my Wi-Fi is being so slow. Awesome. This is coming through. While this is coming through, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of talk about some do's and don'ts when we do get to the next step. Make sure that when you do get to the next step that you make sure that you are creating the ad under the right page and the right Instagram account. For someone like me, or for maybe possibly other marketers who manage something for their job, but they also manage something for someone else, or they manage multiple pages for their job, it just gets really tricky that you might accidentally select a different page and target, promote something from that page versus the page you're intending. So just really make sure that you'd be diligent about checking that. That's above where my screenshot is showing right now, right here. So see, this is a perfect example. It automatically chooses my consulting client. I don't want to promote my dog sitting business to people who want to sell plants and lose my gig. So I'm going to go down to my personal page. There it is. And there's my dog sitting in addition to my dad's restaurant review page that I still manage. I'm going to select that. I didn't set up my Instagram for the purpose of this webinar, but if you were wanting to make sure that you use an Instagram account for your promotions, or if that's where you know your audience is, you can select that here and connect it. You have an option between carousel and single image video when you get to this point. I'm going to do single image or video, but keep in mind that carousels are great for driving clicks, and you can add up to 10 tiles, which is really great. So if you do have some great related imagery on hand, that's a really nice format. And the other nice thing to keep in mind while this is loading is that with video, if you do have a video, Facebook recently added all of these bells and whistles to this area so that after you upload a video, you actually have the ability for Facebook to generate closed captions for it, to put some overlying copy on it, like a super, for instance. So instead of like hiring an expensive editor, they've really put in place some great tools to enable people like us who might not have that, those skills to go out and just film a video out of the blue, or hire a production house to do that themselves. So if we come down here, it automatically filled in my client's text, but that's okay because I am going to talk about my dog sitting business. So going on a road trip. Let me love your furry friend. So that's where the primary text will go, and it's going to go up here. I can also change my image. So I have a really cute dog image on my desktop that I'm going to upload. I'm going to check out some of the chats just because this is taking for a little bit and see if there's anything we can talk about. Yes, is Ads Manager ideal for events where you have a Facebook landing page? Yes, it is. You can definitely promote your events. I believe you can use the reach and engagement formats to do that. Highly recommend it. You can also promote from your event page. What I would also recommend with that, though, is that some people use those event pages and some people don't. So if you are going to promote an event, something we do with Boulevardia is we have creative that is tied purely to the event. In addition, like the set list of all the artists, and then we also will promote the event in addition to that. What about best practice? What's a good length time to run an ad or boost a post? How long before you saturate your audience with the message? Awesome question. When we go through the audience portion a little bit more, it will show you how big your potential audience reach is. And though, in a small community, sometimes you can risk burnout. Really, you do want to try and get a higher frequency. Facebook does track your ad frequency, so you're able to look in on that reporting and see how often your ad's being served. People just, there's so much going on in our feeds right now, and people are inundated with that, and they're distracted. So with that in mind, and another fact is that it is proven that somebody has greater ad recall if they see something on one channel and then on another versus seeing the ad twice on the same channel. So in terms of frequency, if I were you, I'd recommend putting it on Facebook and on Instagram, and possibly using an email list to really go after those who I know will want to engage with this ad to achieve that. In terms of burnout, it's hard to achieve burnout with such a big audience network to target, and you have to have quite a bit of budget. So with my bigger clients who have $1 million+ budgets, that's something that they definitely need to make sure that they don't burn people out and people start hiding their ads. I think for you guys, you're probably in the perfect sweet spot where you can get to a healthy frequency where somebody's able to recall your ads, but not so much that they're totally sick of them. And in terms of a good length to run an ad, I think that really depends on what your goals are and what you're promoting. So to go back to the Boulevardia example, we will start out at low frequency, and then we're going to get more and more intense as things go on. They also have, we have been able to do a really nice um, targeting tactic where we upload our email list and then target people who are like them but haven't ever signed up for Boulevardia. And that was a great tactic to reach new audiences. So with Boulevardia, yeah, we're going to start low and slow and then be like almost to the point of annoyance before an event. But with someone like Proven Winners who has a long plant season, we oftentimes will set up retargeting ads and product specific ads that will run over a month to even longer if it's something that's more generic and non-seasonal, like plant gardening tools, because we know that it's going to be a tough road to recall when somebody has so much going on in their feed. Let me get to my desktop, and you're going to get to see a cute picture of a dog real soon. Here we go. There it is. And upload that. I think it's just being really slow because we're also running the go-to meeting, but that should work. You can see that I can also add a website URL. I definitely love, depending on your objective, even if you're doing reach and you're not trying to get link clicks, I always like the idea of giving people a route to get additional information. So if you want to add that website URL option, you're able to add even more information. You're able to add a headline, a description, and you're also able to edit the button that's by that description depending on your goals. So going back to events, you can connect this to Eventbrite and retarget people based off of that. There's some really neat capabilities in terms of audience manager for that. And you can have a button that says something like sign up or RSVP. There's one that's learn more. There's one that's shop now if you're leading to like your Etsy shop. I believe there's a get tickets one as well. So, you know, sometimes your creative isn't right for it, and that's totally cool. But when you do add that website URL, you get so many more options. So I'm just going to drop in my dog sitting URL here, and you'll get to see how that kind of changes things. See how that added that down there? And then this is where I can like adjust which button I want to use. So for creative, like I love being creative and analytical, and I really get excited by Facebook Ads Manager because there's all these options for creativity and to lean into that. So see these different options. Yeah, get show times, request time, get quote, get directions, download, contact us. I'm going to choose contact us because that's kind of tied to the goal I have. And you can see that here. There's some areas down here that you might want to explore if you get curious, if you want to learn more. This is where you can add different languages. If you do set up a Facebook pixel on your site, you'll be able to turn that on and track how people engage with your site based off of this ad. And if I was to put this live right now, which I'm not going to, but that would be where I click confirm. I want to be mindful of time, so I'm going to go back really quick and talk about the audience manager, and also I think this is just a great primer for being creative on Facebook. The audience manager, audience targeting on Facebook has so many options. So you can target by geography, you can target by behavior. For that plant company I've talked about, we oftentimes, for our younger audience, target first-time homebuyers or someone who has recently moved, recently been engaged, recently married, recently bought a house. All of those are targeting features that you can use. I encourage you to poke around in that area, see what you can find, because they do add things every now and then, and you get surprised, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And the other neat thing is that as you start to add things related to what you're promoting, Facebook will start giving you recommendations like, do you want to add this? Do you want to add this? How about this guy? It's pretty great. So I definitely encourage exploring it. And then when you want to take it to the next level, you can also start thinking about saving your audiences. So if you have an event that you promote every year, and you know that target donor or patron that you want to go after, you can save that audience for next year so you don't have to do it again. I do that a lot with both Boulevardy and the Proven Winners client, because a lot of times we'll save people who are loyalists to us, and then we'll also save someone who's not, so we can figure out how to target them. I think my computer has, or my web browser is just like completely frozen. And also, in keeping time in mind, I'm going to switch back to the presentation. I have a couple quick best-in-class examples to show you, just to spark some creativity. And then we'll have a little time to talk as well. So just gonna get out of there because that's just running way too slow. And let's get back into the keynote. Are you guys able to see the keynote okay? Good, okay, great. So like I was talking about earlier, if you do want to get more into the ads manager audience area, there's this is where you go from that top menu, and you can start to really get nerdy and have some fun with who you can target. And I want to show you guys some examples. I am constantly on the hunt for good ads and saving them and screenshotting them. These are a couple ones I've seen in the wild per se, but also, like, I encourage you, even if there are things that are different than what you promote, to look out for that kind of stuff. Because, for instance, you can promote people whose birthdays are that day. And I thought this was really smart that on my birthday, Daily Harvest sent me a birthday coupon via Facebook, even though they didn't have my email. Very smart. I almost converted. If I hadn't already bought myself a birthday present, it would have been that. Additionally, you might take something like that's very popular and make it into an ad. And I think that's great, like in terms of our, our best-selling production, our most popular product. People gravitate towards that, and it can earn you some clicks to your site. A note on using text over imagery is that it used to be a big no-no on Facebook to use text over imagery. Now they've pulled back a little bit. They offer you a lot of areas to do that, and it really does, especially depending on the channel, enhance an ad, draw someone in a different way. So especially since you guys all have creative backgrounds and good aesthetic, like, look out for that and see what it would feel like in the channel. This one felt really good to me, but also keep in mind that you really don't have to include your logo on your ad, because your logo is going to be like up here, up here, up here. So if you are going to utilize that space to say an extra message, don't worry about your logo, because it's going to be up here, unless it's like incorporated into this like super cute creative like Mazda does. And they connected their different carousels, which is one of my favorite things to do. Take a piece of creative and chop it up, and someone like can click through to a bunch of different things. So that's what I have today. I think that we've answered the questions in the chat, but is there any other questions that people would have right now? And if not, that's totally cool too. Has any? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. While we have the time, do you want to go back and talk a little bit about, I think it was, I'm trying to remember what slide, when you're talking about possibilities for tracking Facebook and creating those pixels. And just, you don't have to go into a lot of detail, because we might put that into a 201 or a 301 version, but I just wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So in that audience area that if you were to open your ads manager and there's like a top area that has 4 little squares, like I was showing over here, you can click down and create audiences and events manager. Events manager is where you have the ability to set up a pixel. And a pixel is a very simple piece of code that you can paste on your website. It's been such a blessing that websites like Wix and WordPress and all of those, Squarespace, have made it so easy to inject this code. There's a specific area of the site I know for Squarespace that you can inject it, because I've done it for Latino Arts Foundation. And she needed some help setting up her ads manager, and because she had Squarespace, it made it remarkably easy. You don't have to have a developer as long as you have a platform like that. Once that is on, then you will be able to see it firing, and it will let you know how many people it has been collecting per se. And from there, if you were to be setting up your ad, you could pull here from your custom audience and your pixel would appear there. That is created in Events Manager, but if you also wanted to dig into how you could create some of those saved audience, custom audiences like we were talking about as well, there you have the opportunity to upload your email list and target people on your email list or people who look like them. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what someone just asked. Yes, I can totally talk about that. So if you wanted to create an audience based off of your emails, you'd go to that audience area. It prompts you to be like, what kind of audience do you want to create? And you can say, you could select, I'd like to create an audience off of my email list. It will prompt you to upload the Excel sheet. It has certain formatting it requests. And you can upload a lot more than just name and email. You can upload birthday, location. There's a lot of different things that you, if formatted correctly, Facebook will understand the data that you're uploading. And then when you actually go to create your ad, you will find that that email list in your custom audiences. That's also, that audience area is also where you can create those audiences I was talking about, like people who have engaged with my Facebook page or my Instagram page, or even people who are like those people who have engaged with my Facebook or Instagram page. So that audience area is, it's really where you can take things next level, because you can leverage your first party data to reach your audiences in the most impactful way and make it tailored to them. So definitely recommend exploring that.
Thank you. Does anyone else?
Actually, I thought of one more thing. With email lists, also keep in mind that Facebook is only able to target those whose email address is associated with the Facebook account they have. So I think that for this group, fortunately, you'll have a lot of consumer, it's B2C for a lot of you. So you'll be able to, Facebook would be able to recognize, oh, you upload these emails. Of the 500 you uploaded, 300 of them are on Facebook. That's your new list. If you're doing B2B, it can get a little bit more challenging, because oftentimes somebody wouldn't be using their business email for their Facebook account. So just something you might have to navigate. All right, that's my last thing. Go ahead, Mariah.
Oh no, I was just gonna kind of wrap up the conversation. Is there any other questions that the group of you have for Alyssa, or suggestions for her or for myself on future classes? Nobody's unmuting. So, well, thank you so much, Alyssa. Is there anything else you want to add before we end the call?
Yeah, and yes, Ads Manager is ideal for events. So I would recommend, if you are going to do event promotion, that you can promote your actual event page. But I also recommend something we do for Boulevardia, we promote that event page, but what we also do is have like an image or a video ad in addition to that, just to complement those two, because sometimes it's kind of a split line over people who respond to events on Facebook and people who would rather respond to an event via like an Eventbrite link. So if you are going to go down that route, it's a totally great tool for that. And I would definitely recommend, I have a link on the last slide of the deck that goes to Facebook's IQ site, where they have a bunch of success stories about how different advertisers used Facebook to meet their different objectives. And definitely recommend just scrolling through and reading those stories, because you'll go, hey, that kind of sounds familiar, similar to me. And I think that could be something that I could use. So they have a couple events and talk about ways that people have promoted events. Like one was like a nightclub opening and how they used a video to promote their events. So definitely recommend checking that out. And it is a great platform to promote events.
I think too, to echo what you were just saying, that adding that link to your actual event page, where if you are having an event where you're requiring a ticket purchase or registration, and you're doing that outside of Facebook. So Alyssa's, example was Eventbrite, but if you're using, something else, kind of a ticket purchasing platform, use your ads to go directly to that ticket purchase rather than your Facebook page, because we do know that the best user experience is like the shortest experience that you can give to someone, the shortest pathway to them making their purchase or making their decision. So you don't want to have an ad and then take them to the Facebook event page and then they have to go to Eventbrite. So just make it as short as possible. I hope that's helpful.
I love that, Bill. Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Alyssa, for taking the time. And I will send out a follow-up to everyone, with Alyssa's slideshow again, and then some feedback. And then we also will have this recorded on artskc.org. So look for that, and send it to any of your colleagues that weren't able to join us today. So thank you, everyone, and I hope we'll see you next week.